Last month, a secret cabal of centrist Democrats, consultants, and what have you had a meeting, which we're just now getting some insight into. I've talked about this for a while. You probably have an idea. You saw that. Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to rage out. I'm trying not to crash out over this. This was from last month. It's basically exactly what you think it is. I mean, if you've seen literally any of my coverage of the Democrats post-election, you know what direction this is going to take. Centrist Dem group rails against leftist identity politics and purity tests. Let's just bathe in it, you know? Let's just awash it, you know, sort of consume this. I thought this was fake. No, nah. This is a bait article. The people in that meeting got kicked out of the DNC years ago. They are legally banned from calling themselves Dems now too. Could you substantiate that claim? Legally banned from calling themselves Democrats? I would be interested in learning more about your rebuttal of this, because maybe you can. I would like that information, is what I'm saying. When several dozen Democratic political operatives and elected officials gathered at a Tony resort off the Potomac River last month, frustration boiled over at the left wing of their party. Too obsessed with ideological purity tests and should push back against far-left staffers and groups that exert a disproportionate influence on policy and messaging, produced by the center-left group Third Way and obtained Politico. That's great. One of the key ways to win back the trust of the working class, some gathered there argued, was to reduce far-left influence and infrastructure on the party. You can really feel that. The gathering resulted in 5 pages of takeaways. I'll take a look at that in just a second. Please. Let's see. Weak messaging. Their takeaways. The party should embrace patriotism, community, and traditional American imagery. Candidates should get out of elite circles and into real communities, e.g. tailgates, gun shows, local restaurants, churches. Own the failures of Democrats in large cities and commit to improving local government. Well, that's nice. Well, it was nice of them to boil this down to 5 pages. Does the far left even meaningfully exist in the US anymore? Yeah, you're in the one remaining channel. Thank you. It's literally the no labels people that Manchin went with and got canned for. Let's see. I love learning stuff like this. Suppression of third-party candidates. An 80-minute call organized by Third Way with recording obtained by Semaphore detailed the Third Way's effort to suppress third-party candidates in groups such and such. No labels, including Kennedy. I don't think this necessarily means that because people associated with this group have gotten lambasted for their behavior, that doesn't necessarily mean that these the people present at this meeting weren't politically relevant. Were there not elected officials here? Did I not say that? When several dozen Democratic political operatives and elected officials, I mean, Masaiga won. I'm just saying, you know, there's a contradiction. Who are these elected officials? I would like to know that. APAC Dems? Well, that's just the Democrats. There's a lot of people posting about this. The Democrats right now are floundering in general, so the behavior of those people isn't surprising to me. How indicative it is, you know, we'd have to see, I suppose. Third Way got into a war with no labels last year to stop them from challenging Biden with a unity ticket. Third Way is still aligned with the Dems. That's certainly my impression. I don't think there's any reason to believe that that's not the direction they're taking things. For starters, the party chose the battleground state moderate Elissa Slotkin of Michigan to deliver its response to Trump. A Republican by another name. Slotkin outperformed former VP Kamala Harris by more than a full percentage point in all but 28 of the state's 83 counties, according to a Detroit News analysis. A group of moderate Democrat consultants, campaign staffers, elected officials, and party leaders gathered in Loudoun County, Virginia for a day-and-a-half retreat. Organized by Third Way, the centrist Democratic think tank and operated by Chatham House Rules, resulted in 5 pages of takeaways, a document playbook obtained from one of the participants. Parentheses, not all attendees endorsed every point. Okay, that's not very helpful. Michigan, surprisingly Republican. It's like razor thin margins. The retreat's conversation centered on a disconnect with the working class. I can't stand it when moderates and reactionaries talk about the working class. Dude, the working class, they say the working class, what they mean is like white evangelicals who live in the rural areas outside of town. F them. For one, you don't know who the working class is. For two, if you met them, you would hate them and they would hate you. For three, the cities are full of working class people. Absolutely packed full of them. They're not all white. They're not all men. They do have a point about left-wing idpol not resonating with the working class. What left-wing idpol? Where? Where is it happening? That's my question. The Kamala Harris didn't run it at all. Kamala Harris is a black woman, but her campaign was devoid of social messaging. Like, where is it? Where is it happening? I'm getting right-wing idpol flooding the marketplace of free ideas every day, every moment. I look online and the president of the United States is like complaining about blacks attacking whites in South Africa or some crazy shit. Like it's every right-wing grievance, every social grievance, every culture war talking point is being fronted. Where's left-wing idpol? We need to get woker. Yeah, the silent majority that never shuts the fuck up. Maybe the issue is that this left-wing idpol, when it is represented, is being fronted by rich New York City Democratic consultants who neither believe what they're saying nor understand what people actually want to hear. Like, rather than this stuff being fronted by, you know, actual progressives or members of minority groups or whatever, they're actually desperately suppressing all forms of economic progressivism in favor of like toothless idpol that's only meant to project an image of progressivism, like Hillary Clinton responding to Bernie Sanders in the 2016 primary by saying, well, how would free Medicare help solve sexism or whatever? This shit is manufactured. I feel like their entire Twitter is left-wing rage porn. The only purpose think tanks like this is to push people to the right, okay? It's so obvious when you look at society. Open your eyes and look around. What's causing the issues, okay? White supremacy, chauvinism, ultra-wealthy people. Easy. That's easy. Like, it's like you're opening your eyes. There's a pain in your arm and you look and there's a guy with a hacksaw sawing off your arm. It doesn't take a degree in medicine to understand what's going on here. These problems aren't subtle. It's obvious what's causing them, okay? And the goal of organizations like this is to go, no. It doesn't have to be the hacksaw necessarily. Also, if you really cared about removing that hacksaw from your arm, which maybe is causing the pain, then don't you think you should focus a little bit less on land back? I mean, negotiating with the person holding the hacksaw seems like the most reasonable strategy of ending the pain if that's what's causing the pain. And it doesn't seem like they're very keen on this so-called progressive messaging that you care about, you know? It's a hostage situation, okay? Don't fall for this shit. So if Dems are over, we only have infinite suffering left. Trick question. Life is infinite suffering. I think we got to stick to our guns this time. We have to call their bluff. We need to be woker than ever before. Yeah, no capitulation. Takeaway on why Democrats have a cultural disconnect. Overemphasis on identity politics. Kamala Harris didn't talk about idpol at all. The faculty lounge problem. Democrats are often viewed as judgmental, out of touch, and dismissive. You know what would fix that? A bunch of center-of-the-road consultants urging the Democrats to move to the right. Failure to prioritize economic concerns. It's more about the messaging than it is like the concern themselves. Weak messaging and communication. Fear and dissent within the party. Fear of dissent within the party. That's true. I agree with that. I agree with the weak messaging communication as well. Attachment to unpopular institutions. That's probably true as well. Allowing the far left to define the party. Nope. Reactionary rather than proactive, but not reactionary in the way that we are. We mean in the sense that Democrats react rather than proact, which is sort of true. Yeah. Over-reliance on buzzwords and political correctness. Terms like pregnant people and Latinx, two terms that Kamala Harris hasn't uttered once, and I haven't heard anyone say, hey, here's a breakdown of why Democrats lost the election that just happened a few months ago. Here are some talking points that a lefty haven't heard in years. Takeaways on why Democrats are not trusted by the working class on the economy. Vilification of wealth. In case you are wondering why this is actually being done. Guys, it's not capitalism that's doing this. It's not, ignore all the obvious problems. The Democrats are too anti-wealthy. They should be, if anything, they should be celebrating the immense success and opportunity America affords immigrants in the form of Elon Musk taking control of the federal government single-handedly, you know? We know what all this is going to be. Guys, trust me, your, dickless, centrist, do-nothing party that offers nothing and doesn't believe in anything, you just need to believe in fewer things. You need to believe in fewer things. Least surprising thing ever, but their board of trustees is full of Wall Street executives. Wow, really? Shocking. So they're proposing we double down on why the Democrats lost? Yes, essentially, yes. Read number 9 at the bottom. There are multiple number 9s. What number 9? Down here? Embrace populism thoughtfully. Critique corporate excess and corruption, but avoid an anti-capitalist stance. Be bold in challenging inefficient institutions while maintaining credibility as pragmatic reformers. Guys, if we betray the working class more and more aggressively, maybe they'll begin to trust us. Moderate populism. Co-founded by Jonathan Cohen, Matt Bennett, Jim Kessler, and Nancy Hale. Well, that's nice. Anyway, it's not the only example of the Democrats floundering lately. Unfortunately, our boy is not doing good, it seems. I'd like to read more on this. DNC is hiring the same people who blew the last election. Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin is promoting from within as he fills out his senior leadership team, taking a stay-the-course approach to staffing despite the party's losses in November. Let me find the full article. That's not making me happy. That's not making me happy at all. The failing upwards party? I believe it's this. Roger Lau named DNC executive director. The DNC is opting for an experienced insider instead of a shakeup. Thoughts on third parties can't really function in the system as it operates and exists right now. Though at the rate things are going, maybe that'll change in the future. I don't know. Roger Lau has been serving as the DNC's deputy executive director since 2021, will be the DNC's next executive director. Committee officials shared first with Politico. He replaces Sam Cornell. Elected friends to lead the DNC. Experienced operatives over shaking up the party apparatus on South Capitol Street. Jessica Wright joins the DNC as Deputy Executive Director and Chief of Staff to the Chair. She served as Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations at the State Department during President Joe Biden's administration and is an Obama administration alum. Oof. You really shouldn't be trusting Politico and anything that's shitting on Dems. The owner's big time in on Trump. That's all media now. Also, what are they lying about this? I mean, this is just the article I'm looking at. I mean, if actually Bernie Sanders has been appointed like the DNC, co-executive chair or something, let me know if the information is flatly incorrect. But I'm just reading the info. Bernie Sanders has been appointed supreme leader of the DNC. God, if only. The DNC is thrilled to announce a new slate of leaders whose depth and breadth of experience will support the Democratic Party in holding the Trump administration accountable and fighting for working families. Yay! It is possible that Ken Martin is appointing intelligently from within, like he's uplifting people who are insiders because he wants to leverage their experience to move the party in a leftward populist direction. But I'd have to see it to believe it. I'd have to see it to believe it because that's cope. I said it's possible, not that it's likely. I'd have to see it to believe it. Oh, I saw this one. Still others are cautioning Democrats to wait until Trump steps in it himself, with veteran Democratic strategist James Carville recently urging the party to, quote, roll over and play dead until the public opinion sours on the opposition. God almighty. Well, yeah, at least Martin and Lau aren't following that advice. Just people who are utterly baffled by what went wrong. Not in Trump's America. He wrote it? He wrote that? He said something that stupid and it was written? He could have edited it? I'm sorry. So it's just a stupid thing to say. My assumption was that it was spoken out loud because that sounds like the kind of thing that an idiot might say errantly. Not that it didn't even occur to me that it might have been written. It didn't even occur to me. It didn't even occur to me. Didn't even occur to my stupid white ass. James Carville is talking. Sit your white ass down and listen or something. I'm sitting, I'm listening. Don't know much about Roger Lau. Gotta say, though, I do, I like his face. I don't know. He seems like a bit of a go-getter, don't you think? Maybe it's the confident smirk here. He does look a little bit like he's mewing. We'll see how things go. Apparently, Ken Martin's doing what he said so far. We covered so much ground last week. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Illinois, Texas, and Missouri. It's time for Democrats to show up in all 3,244 counties, red, purple, blue, to make our case. That's good. Oh, I saw this one. This is from the 25th. Yeah. No, I think that Ken Martin was, I think that Ken Martin is a better direction than the previous DNC chair. I'll tell you that much, like by a mile, by a country mile, even. I guess we'll see. We'll just have to see. Don't dress like this. When did we fall as a nation? When did we stop believing in ties? This is the article from Carville, if you want to take a look. Yeah. It's time for a daring political maneuver, Democrats. And yeah, it's what, like bend over and suck your own dick? That is daring. There's nothing Democrats can legitimately do to stop it, even if we wanted to. It's time for Democrats to embark on the most daring political maneuver in the history of our country, roll over and play dead. Allow the Republicans to crumble beneath their own weight and make the American people miss us. Me, when my job is to make sure Democrats win, but never in a way that compromises Wall Street's goals. Just wait for your opponent to fall over. That way, you won't have to improve at all when you step back up. You won't have to offer anyone anything. Just keep the American people dancing on a razor's edge between total governmental collapse and inept, abstemious democratic technocracy, where the most you can hope for is minor tweaks on a fundamentally broken system. You won't have to budge an inch. Only until the Trump administration has spiraled into the low 40s or high 30s in public approval polling percentages should we make like a pack of hyenas and go for the jugular. Well, I mean, it worked for the Republicans, right? When Obama was polling really highly, all the Republicans were just quiet, and that's how things worked for them. Trump is a famously, very reserved political operator, and that's the reason why he was able to, bounce back after Biden, bounce back after 2 terms of Obama. Keep in mind that Carville has historically been a respected consultant for the Democrats. He is a very, very prominent and powerful person. He was the lead strategist for Bill Clinton. His bio is like his bio is like a joke, man. Nicknamed the Ragin' Cajun, Carville gained national attention for his work as a lead strategist in Bill Clinton's presidential campaign, a principal role crafting strategy for 3 unsuccessful Democratic Party presidential contenders, including John Kerry, Hillary Clinton in 2008, and Michael Bennet in 2020. He's married to longtime Republican political consultant Mary Madeline. Just perfect, just phenomenal. And this guy's been respected in Democratic circles for decades. This guy has been, he's 80 years old, and he has been called in. We reward failure. This isn't even failure. This guy's like a successful paid opposition, Like he's succeeding in what he wants. The Democrats are useless. He's not being listened to now, though. Yeah, well, too little, too late. Martin's ignoring Carr. Yeah, I know. I just read that article. I'm aware. For decades, he's been consulted. Decades. The Ragin' Cajun. How long his goddamn article is. Did consultancy work for an Israeli prime ministerial election? Of course. He suggested Mitt Romney should resign from the Senate in 2020 and run the Democratic National Convention. He further added he might cast a write-in vote for Nancy Pelosi when he votes in Louisiana for the presidency in 2020. I guess Joe Biden was too left-leaning. Called Sanders a communist, pejoratively labeled his base of support as a cult, warned of the end of days if Sanders were to win the Democratic nomination, used his media appearances surrounding the dust-up to rail against the ascendance of progressive populist Democratic policy positions such as student loan debt forgiveness, a position so radical that even Joe Biden pushed for it continuously, and people voting from jail cells. Carville also decried banning hydraulic fracking for shale gas. In November 2020, Carville predicted the result of the election would be known by 10 p.m. on Election Day after the Associated Press took an additional 4 days to declare the winner. Politico named Carville's prediction among, quote, the most audacious, confident, and spectacularly incorrect prognostications about the year. Pennsylvania Senate election 2022, Carville's super PAC bankrolled TV ads which sought to portray one of Lamb's primary opponents, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, as a self-described democratic socialist. Within a day of airing, PolitiFact and Fact Check called the attack ad false. The Philadelphia Inquirer commented Fetterman never actually described himself that way, and the ABC affiliate in Philadelphia stopped broadcasting the ad. Elizabeth Warren called on Lamb to disavow it. I actually remember this. Ahead of the 2024 presidential election, Carville argued in an interview with Maureen Dowd that the Democrats' political culture had become, quote, too dominated by preachy females. You know that, brother. Which he claimed was one reason for Democrats' waning support with black male voters. He actually did call for Joe Biden to end his bid for re-election. Carville's biographical documentary film, Carville, Winning is Everything, Stupid, from the guy who only ever loses. He has endorsed Coca-Cola and Heineken beer. That's great, man. He has ADHD. You guys can relate to that. Sorry. I just really, really hate the Democrats. So my apologies. I just really despise them. So I like to remind, every once in a while, I need my kicks on it, I need to boost that back up. Can't forget, it's a healthy anger. Oh, for sure, 100%. Who are the other consultants they listen to? There's thousands of consultants. Tim Walz says he may run for president in 2028 despite failure of 2024 Harris campaign. Kind of an unnecessary addendum, like we know who Tim Walz is, right? If you know enough about Tim Walz for this title to make sense to you, you already know that he lost. An unchained Tim Walz could do a lot of good. I will say that much. I do think it's possible. There is a version of Tim Walz that could do very, very well, but he would have to be unchained. The DNC would shackle him? Yeah, probably. If he's liking that leaked recording, it'd be a sweep. First of all, he needs to be meaner. Second of all, I think he could do to be a little bit less folksy, you know? I understand Minnesota. I get it. I know. I think that people like that as a contrast to a like coastal, you know, more affable kind of politician like Kamala Harris. But as the front runner, it's not the 1990s and early 2000s anymore. I think that the American monoculture has advanced to the point where we kind of we see stuff like that more as wacky sidekick territory, if you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, he needs to have main character energy. Speak softly, Dick Bigley. Exactly. Exactly. You think Walz has potential? Sure. Is it anything like Bernie? Do you watch my streams? He's not like Bernie Sanders. He's not a socialist who plays nice for the purposes of advancing his interests in American government. They're both old? He's not old. I mean, not by politician standards. You think a Walz AOC ticket would go hard? No, they need someone with main character energy. Walz would need to become the main character, basically. He, not like a folksy, you know, like, I'm here to talk sense to people. I'm here to be the attack dog in the chain, whatever. You need someone with a lot of presence. Can't be someone who's meek. Walz, he's a nice guy, but he comes across, well, a little too nice. A lot of his attacks are more like folksy talking down to than they are like the vindictive meanness, the energy you'd get from somebody who can fill a room. Pritzker? Pritzker has some shaping up he needs to do. Pritzker would need to be like, yeah, 10 times as nasty. You mean he's fat? He can keep the fat. Do you have any other words besides folksy? Not when we're talking about Walz, no. Look, it's my number one diagnosis for why Donald Trump won the presidency is that he has main character energy in a world where a lot of American politicians could not attract your attention if they were standing behind a podium in your room. In a world where so many of them are these like boring, let's be fair here, okay? Unfair, I should say. Boring, ugly, stupid, charismatically and socially unimpressive. They're just twiddly little number fiddling stock guys who are here because they have money and they defrauded people and now they're here because the consultant said they could be here and then. The difference is that Donald Trump, he brought big dick energy. And he did, and you can't deny it. It's not just a matter of him being charismatic or loud or funny or willing to lie all the time. All of those play into it, but for the most part, it's just that he's a main character. Every day of his life, he's doing something. The cameras are always on him. He enters a room and he fills it. Everyone looks at him, you know? You understand me? It's that simple. Americans want a main character. Americans consume media, news, politics, whatever, through the framework of narratives that are constructed. That can be through a TV show, a movie. It can be through what a journalist writes or says, whatever, you know? But narratives have characters. It's because he was a TV personality for so long. I mean, yeah, that does help. It's just charisma, man. Gavin Newsom does have much more main character energy, but there are other issues with him, you know? Because he's still a fiddly little, you know, do-nothing centrist Democrat who only cares about power, right? He doesn't have the populist messaging to go along with it, which is important. He has the interpersonal energy. He cannot command your attention in the same way. So we need Hassan to run. Why would you say something that embarrassing and not even spell his name correctly? I largely agree, but genuinely, who do you turn to? There's no one right now is viable. Bernie has it? No, he's like 100 years old. Michael Vsauce? There you go. Shoe on head? If she started wearing the shoe, maybe. I hear she puts them on her feet. Voters don't like that kind of indecisiveness. It takes away from the... No, not Jon Stewart. You're all just listing anyone you can think of. Whatever. Can't take it seriously. His former running mate Harris is currently living in California with her husband Douglas Emhoff. Walz revealed the pair were not in regular contact and had only spoken a couple of times. That's sad. Really? Did my man dirty? Yeah, no kidding. I fucking despise the DNC. Yep. She probably blames Walz. I doubt she's capable of much introspection. It's grim. But yeah, no, unfortunately, Democrats, the reason nobody in the Democrats has the reason you don't see this kind of energy is because the DNC deliberately stifles it and stamps it out, you know? Nowadays, The Republican Party actively encourages these showboating, camera-chasing motherfuckers at every level of their party, from representatives to influencers who they bring into DC. Remember them bringing DC Drano in to hold an empty binder called Epstein Files Phase 1, and it had nothing in it, and the information they released was already available online, unredacted 5 years ago, and then they posted a Rickroll or whatever. Like, they are actively encouraging, narcissistic influencer behavior from their guys. Democrats, on the other hand, they'll mow any blade of grass that's even remotely higher than the field. They deliberately stifle. I mean, you saw what they did to Bernie.